Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Job Transfer for All, From Bronze Lord to Immortal Demon God. Chapter 1. Blue Star, southeast of the Imperial Capital. Bone Mountain, Dark Cave. In the dark and empty hall, a tall and burly figure stood motionless like a sculpture. Suddenly, a surprised voice sounded softly. I have time traveled. I have also time traveled to a world where all people change jobs. Zhang Qian was stunned by the memory that appeared out of nowhere in his mind. Not only did he travel to a world where all the people change jobs, but he also traveled to become a Bronze Lord. Everyone in this world can switch to a combat profession or a life profession at the age of 18, and then gain experience through killing monsters or working as a player to continuously upgrade. When the level reaches a certain height, the player can even ignite the divine fire to become the Immortal. If you become a combat player after time travel, it must be a very happy thing. It's a pity that Zhang Qian didn't pass through as a player, but stood on the opposite side of the player. What the hell am I suffering from bad luck for 8 lifetimes? Others time travel back to time travel, and their identity is still human after all, so I'm the one who transmigrated as a boss. Can I just wait for the players to kill me? Zhang Qian can almost predict that he will never have peace in the future, and I am afraid that he will have to face harassment from countless players every day. He was very depressed, but he had to accept the reality. Forget it, if it comes, let it be safe, let's think about how to deal with the 4th natural disaster. At this point, Zhang Qian fell into deep thought. This world operates stably under the influence of countless special laws. Not only players can kill monsters to upgrade, but monsters can also be upgraded by killing players. Compared with ordinary monsters, Lord monsters have one more way to upgrade, which is to absorb the player's resentment, gather the power of negative beliefs, and use the power of beliefs to improve their strength. If enough power of faith can be accumulated, the Lord monster can also ignite the divine fire to confer the gods. It's just that most of the Lord monsters can only tremble under the siege of the players. It is impossible to accumulate enough power of faith, and the hope of becoming a god is very slim. More importantly, almost all monsters are transformed from dead creatures under the influence of special rules. They don't have IQ, they only know how to use killing to deal with players, and they don't deliberately accumulate power of faith at all. Only a few lucky monsters can fight their way out under the siege of the 4th natural disaster, give birth to some insignificant intelligences, and then slowly grow into terrifying existences. Zhang Qian believes that compared with those monsters, he has a great advantage. At least he has a brain, so he won't foolishly confront players head-on. He opened the attribute panel and took a look, unexpectedly found that his new image was quite good-looking. With a tough and handsome face, white hair hanging like a waterfall, dressed in pitch-black armor and holding a blood-red sword, he looks majestic, just like a cold villain. Fallen Dark Sword Master. Level: 20 experience points, 0/10 W. Stand: Bronze Lord. Faith value: 0/100 W. Life: 2 W. Mana: 2000. Attack: 2000, 3000. Defense: 1000. Skills: Dark Sword Slash, Death Contract, Dark 9 Slashes. Territory: Dark Cave. The attribute is not bad, that is, the experience value and belief value are both 0. Obviously, the previous fallen Dark Sword Master died too many times, and his experience and faith points were all lost. After reading his attribute panel, Zhang Qian thought to himself, it seems that in order to become stronger, besides killing more players, the most important thing is to stay alive. So, how to get the most from the players while ensuring that you don't die? What about gaining faith? Then, he began to take stock of the resources available in his hands. There are a total of 300 skeletons in the entire Dark Cave. These 300 skeletons have long-range and melee combat capabilities, and their individual strength can be comparable to that of a level 15 player. But even if Zhang Qian was the reincarnation of Sun Wu, he couldn't use these more than 300 skeletons to block the swarming gang of players. Therefore, counting on these skeletons to deal with players must be incapable. Apart from these 300 skeletons, the only thing Zhang Qian can use is the terrain. Lord monsters can modify the terrain of the territory to a certain extent. The more mana consumed, the greater the terrain change. Terrain seems like something could be done. Zhang Qian was thoughtful, a smile gradually appeared on his cold face. He began to consume mana to change the terrain of the territory, and he was a little unskilled at first. But this ability is an instinct engraved in the bones of the Lord monsters. Most of the Lord monsters do not consciously do this, but they can do it as long as they want to. After about 10 minutes, Zhang Qian finally exhausted all his mana. He took a weak breath, and then sat on the throne behind him. Sunset, night is coming. Players came to Dead Mountain in droves. Hurry up, the entrance to the dark cave is about to open. This time we must grab the Dark Sword Master. Speed up, this time I must explode the sword from the Dark Sword Master's hand. It's a dog. Why is it so difficult to grab a mere Dark Sword Master? So many people come to swipe every day. Is there a mistake? No way. Who let the novice area only have the Dark Sword Master explode the bronze equipment? As long as the blood-red sword in the hands of the Dark Sword Master can be exploded, even the hottest fighters can take off. A team of 5 people rushed into the dark cave with enthusiasm. Judging from their equipment, this is a rather elite team of players. The leader was a heroic female warrior of vitality. She shouted excitedly, "Come on! The master of the dark sword that must be fought today is called Dad." The fat mage Yu Wenhao beside him said cheerfully, "Sister Guo, the Dark Sword Master doesn't seem to be able to speak." Zhang Guo glared at the fat mage. "Who wants you to talk too much? I'll just say it casually. It would be nice to get the Dark Sword Master. Do you really want him to be called Dad?" Another square-faced male priest, Yuan Tiangong, pointed to a skeleton in front of him and said, "The gatekeeper monster is still there. It seems that there is no one in front. We have to act quickly." Zhang Guo roared angrily, "Then what are you waiting for? Get moving, don't be caught up by the people behind." The 5-member team shot together, and the skeleton warrior guarding the gate was weak, pitiful and helpless, and shattered into ashes in the blink of an eye. Clang! With a crisp sound, there seemed to be a flash of light in the ashes. Someone in the team shouted in surprise, "Look, it's exploded." "Captain, pick it up." Zhang Guo picked up the drop, and her big eyes immediately turned into crescents. She said happily, "It's a strengthening stone. I'm lucky today. Let's go, keep going." Zhang Qian, who was far away in the main hall, saw all this through the power of the Lord, and a meaningful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The Lord can control everything in the territory, including the explosive rate. But there is a premise that the total explosion rate must be maintained at a certain level. The Lord can concentrate the total explosion rate on one mob, or distribute the explosion rate to each mob, but the explosion rate cannot be reduced to 0, nor can the explosion rate exceed the upper limit of the territory's production capacity. For example, all the production capacity of the Dark Cave can only create one piece of silver equipment, so the total explosion rate is impossible to explode gold equipment. And if the production capacity required by this piece of silver equipment is spread out, 10 pieces of bronze equipment or 100 pieces of black iron equipment can be produced. Of course, this is just a rough measurement ratio, and the specific conversion method depends on the attributes of the dropped items. If you change the idiot to be the Lord, you will definitely concentrate all the explosion rate on yourself, and then explode a lot of useless garbage, or completely disperse the explosion rate to every mob, and every mob will explode garbage. Don't let players take advantage of it. But Zhang Qian won't do that, because once he does that, the value of his territory to players will inevitably be greatly reduced. Over time, there will definitely be fewer and fewer players coming here to pack and level up. At that time, how can he gain faith from the players? Want to fish, how can you do without bait? And the skeleton just now was the bait set by Zhang Qian. There are a few more similar baits out there, but getting those baits will take some torture. The 5-member team moved forward again, and as they walked, a bright light suddenly appeared in front of them. Fat Mage Yu Wenhao said excitedly, "It's a treasure chest, there's a treasure chest in front of it." He quickly moved his round body and ran towards the treasure chest as fast as he could. Zhang Guo frowned slightly. "It's strange, there was no treasure chest here when I came a few times ago. Has the map scene changed?" While thinking, there was a scream in front of him. Zhang Guo took a closer look, but saw Yu Wenhao covering his nose with tears streaming down his face, looking very painful. When everyone asked why, they realized that there seemed to be an invisible wall in front of them. Yu Wenhao bumped into it and broke the bridge of his nose. Killing 1,000 knives. Why did an air wall suddenly appear? Is there a mistake? Yu Wenhao cursed angrily. The others were also very speechless, and hurriedly spoke to comfort their teammates. At the same time, Zhang Qian in the hall also heard a system prompt. Negative emotions from player Yu Wenhao plus 777. Converted into 777 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Zhang Guo'er plus 233. Transformed into 233 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Yuan Tiangong plus 233. Transformed into 233 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Lu Renjia plus 233. Transformed into 233 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Kai Xiaomei plus 233. Transformed into 233 points of power of faith. In just one wave, more than 1,700 powers of faith have been accumulated. Zhang Qian was so happy that he almost wanted to laugh out loud, but he didn't get carried away. This was just a small checkpoint. As a Lord Monster, he can't completely block the way for players to come to see him, so the air wall is only half done, and players can still come by bending down. And before he consumed all his mana, he just built such a small level. To prevent players from killing themselves, new defenses must be constructed as quickly as possible. Zhang Qian directly converted the faith value he had just obtained into mana, and began to set a new level. Converting faith points into mana is a waste, but now he has to do it, because he will die if he doesn't. For the fallen Dark Sword Master, it won't be long before he dies once. But Zhang Qian wasn't sure if he, the Traverser, would refresh along with him. So he didn't dare to gamble, he had to keep himself alive. When Zhang Qian set up a new level, Zhang Guo'er's team was also trying to cross the air wall. After some attempts, the team finally found out the height of the air wall. The 5 of them bent down and drilled through the air wall, and finally breathed a long sigh of relief. Yu Wenhao, whose nose was still bleeding, said, "Captain, quickly open the treasure chest and see what's inside." The treasure chest was not locked, and Zhang Guo'er easily opened it, but when she saw the items inside, her face darkened immediately. The treasure chest, which looked like a glittering and luxurious treasure chest, actually contained only 1 copper coin. At this moment, a strong resentment arose in the hearts of the 5 people. Negative emotions from player Yu Wenhao plus 999. Transformed into 999 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Zhang Guo'er plus 666. Converted into 666 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Yuan Tiangong plus 666. Converted into 666 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Lu Renjia plus 666. Converted into 666 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Kai Xiaomei plus 666. Converted into 666 points of power of faith. Yu Wenhao said angrily, "This secret realm is poisonous. The nose is broken. If there are some good things in the treasure chest, it will be more or less consoling. But why did you open a copper coin? Who can bear this?" Zhang Guo'er said with a sullen face, "It seems that the dungeon has undergone changes that we cannot understand, and we must be more cautious in all actions in the future. When moving forward, use a weapon to probe in front, and you can't get caught again." After she finished speaking, she closed the treasure box casually, obviously a little uneasy and kind. All the teammates knew that the captain, who was a dark-bellied beauty, was planning to cheat others. Zhang Qian noticed this scene and couldn't help giving Zhang Guo'er a thumbs up. "Let it go. The more people I cheat, the more faith points I get." Not long after, another group of people came to the treasure chest. Like Zhang Guo'er's team, this team was also very happy when they saw the treasure chest. The person walking in the front also bumped into the air wall, but it was not as serious as the fat mage Yu Wenhao. Even so, they also had a lot of resentment. And this kind of resentment reached its peak soon after opening the treasure chest. Zhang Guo'er's team got a copper plate anyway, but the second team didn't even get a copper plate. Then, the third team, the fourth team, the fifth team. More and more people passed through the air wall. Although some people guessed that the contents of the treasure chest had been taken away, no team survived. Because the air wall is too difficult to guard against. Obviously there is nothing in front of him, but suddenly his nose bumps into it. Who the hell would have thought of this? As more and more people were recruited, Zhang Qian gained more and more faith points. He was not stingy, and invested a lot of faith points to modify the terrain of the dark cave. The air wall is an enchantment type, which consumes too much mana, and the tricks that have already appeared, players are all on guard. It is not cost-effective to recreate the air wall, so Zhang Qian put most of his mana into other areas. Not long after, Zhang Guer's team finally arrived at the second checkpoint. Of course, they didn't realize at first that this was a checkpoint. Until, square-faced Pastor Yuan Tiangong fell to the ground with a bang. Yu Wenhao gloated and said with a gleeful smile, "Haha. Lao Fang, you can't do it. You can fall down while walking. Could it be that you didn't do something good last night?" The name Lao Fang is the nickname Zhang Guer's team gave to Yuan Tiangong, who called him Fang Fang. Yuan Tiangong was also very depressed at the moment. The dark cave was occupied by infinite dark power, even the soil and stones were black. The cave was too dark, even with a torch it was difficult to see the ground. Yuan Tiangong didn't feel that he stepped on anything, he just slipped and fell to the ground. In addition, he also felt that the ground was a little sloping, and he walked awkwardly like a lame man. Ah, it hurts. Suddenly, Yu Wenhao, who was gloating just now, also fell to the ground, and happened to hit his injured nose. Yuan Tiangong was amused. "You're still talking about me, didn't you fall too?" Yu Wenhao got up and said angrily, "What the hell, didn't you notice that the ground became smooth?" Yuan Tian just recalled that when he got up just now, he put his hands on the ground, as if the ground was indeed very smooth. It's just that he didn't care at the time, and now it seems that something is wrong. The others quickly squatted down and touched the ground with their hands. One person slipped and fell to the ground because he squatted too hard. Zhang Guer wiped the ground with her hands, and said solemnly, "The ground is as smooth as a mirror, and it's tilted quite a bit. What's going on here? It wasn't like this the last few times I came here." Everyone looked confused. The biggest difficulty in coming to the dark cave before was that they couldn't get the ownership of the Dark Sword Master. And this time, what the hell, even before seeing the face of the Dark Sword Master, he is already unable to move an inch. They always feel that there seems to be a black hand behind the scenes manipulating and playing with themselves in the darkness. Zhang Guo'er whispered, "Go ahead, be careful." However, things like uneven ground cannot be settled with caution. After that, people slipped and fell one after another, and they couldn't prevent it at all. As a last resort, they could only walk with their hands on the wall. Zhang Qian, who was far away in the main hall, also saw Zhang Guer's team's countermeasures, but he could do nothing about it. If he has enough mana, he can set dense nails on the wall, so that players can no longer walk on the wall. If the player insists on walking against the nail wall, the blood will be lost before reaching the main hall. But the problem is that modifying the terrain of the territory is like using some game map editors to make maps. It is very easy to create a simple and smooth ground, but it is very troublesome to place various decorations. The mana consumed by the two was not the same, and the speed at which Zhang Qian gained faith points could not support the consumption of the latter at all. However, this is just the beginning, and the good show is yet to come. Zhang Qian said to himself with a smile. As they got deeper and deeper, Zhang Guer's team found that the slope of the ground in the cave was getting bigger and bigger, and finally reached a 45-degree angle. In this case, they can no longer walk upright. And this was nothing. What made them even more collapsed was that the angle between the wall and the ground began to change constantly. For a while, it was at an angle of 90 degrees, and for a while it became 30 degrees, 50 degrees, 40 degrees, 180 degrees. The entire passage was twisted into a twist. It was so weird and indescribable. Zhang Guer's team couldn't adapt to this frequent change of angle. They stood up for a while, crawled for a while, and rolled for a while. Such torment is simply crushing, and everyone's resentment has reached its peak. Zhang Guo'er said angrily, "It's too tormenting. How did the dark cave become like this? Can you still enjoy the secret realm? Yu Wenhao is obese, and it is even more difficult to move forward in this passage." He said with difficulty, "Captain, why don't we retreat? It's too much to suffer this kind of torture for a blood-red sword." Yuan Tiangong said decisively, No, this is the closest we are to the blood-red sword, and we must not give up easily. Zhang Guo'er also said. That's right, I must get the blood-red sword this time. Yu Wenhao stopped talking immediately, but his face became a little more bitter. Everyone suppressed their anger and moved forward for a certain distance again, when a rain of arrows suddenly shot in front of them. Zhang Guo'er exclaimed, "It's a skeleton archer, be careful." However, they were in a very embarrassing situation at the moment, not to mention that they couldn't walk normally. The key was that they had no room to dodge, so they could only march forward against the rain of arrows. Fortunately, the skeleton archers in the dark cave are all around level 20, and their attack power is not too terrifying. With Zhang Guo'er and others' level equipment, combined with various recovery medicines, they can survive in a short period of time. Rush over. Destroy this wave of monsters. Zhang Guo'er accelerated forward while cheering up her teammates. Not long after, she finally crossed this difficult road, and her health was only half. She exclaimed in surprise, "Hurry up, the terrain here is back to normal." Considering the limited ability of players to accept difficulty, Zhang Qian did not make the entire passage into special terrain. As a behind-the-scenes boss, Zhang Qian has to give players a certain degree of difficulty, but he can't completely dissuade them, so he must grasp a certain degree when setting the level. It's okay to play tricks, but not too much, otherwise you may not have to play in the future. Encouraged by Zhang Guo'er's team, they quickly rushed out of the special passage. They rushed to the position where the skeleton archer was, but after approaching, they unexpectedly discovered that the monster group in front had formed a battle formation. In front of the skeleton archers, there was actually a group of skeleton warriors blocking them, and there seemed to be a few skeleton mages among the skeleton archers. This situation made Zhang Guo'er's team dumbfounded again. They had never encountered a monster that could form an army before. Why are these monsters still in battle formation? Are they so professional? Awesome! I have fought so many monsters, and this is the first time I have seen a monster that can line up troops. Have these monsters become spirits? Are they all bone spirits? Terrible! Don't even talk about it. Hurry up and kill monsters, and nurse will give me blood. Under Zhang Guo'er's command, the whole team moved quickly, colliding with the skeleton monster group in the blink of an eye. There are 60 skeleton monsters in this wave, which is 1/5 of the entire dark cave. Although Zhang Guo'er and the others had good equipment, they all leapfrogged to spawn monsters, and facing so many higher-level monsters at the same time, it was really a bit of a disaster. But it's too late to retreat now, so I can only bite the bullet and rush forward. The melee is in the front, the mage and the archer are behind, the priest is full of blood, and the team maintains a loose formation, rushing forward to the pile of skeletons. Zhang Guo'er's blood volume fluctuated up and down, and it looked dangerously high. She shouted suddenly, releasing the warrior's classic savage charge. Click! The frontmost skeleton warrior was smashed into a pile of bones by her. But this didn't completely kill the skeleton warrior. Before the blood volume of the undead creatures was exhausted, they could be reunited even if they were scattered all over the place. Fortunately, the other people's attacks were connected smoothly, and the follow-up knife still took away the skeleton warrior in an instant. At this time, the skeleton warriors on both sides also started to attack Zhang Guo'er, and something even more terrifying happened. The skeleton mage and skeleton archer in the rear turned their spears around, turning the scattered fire into concentrated fire, and all of them changed their targets to Zhang Guo'er. Don't talk about martial arts. Zhang Guo'er only had time to curse, and then was instantly killed. Negative emotions from player Yu Wenhao plus 999. Transformed into 999 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Zhang Guo'er plus 999. Transformed into 999 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Yuan Tiangong plus 999. Transformed into 999 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Lu Renjia plus 999. Transformed into 999 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Kai Xiaomei plus 999. Transformed into 999 points of power of faith. Not long after Zhang Guo'er died, her teammates soon followed in her footsteps. And Zhang Qian in the main hall also obtained a very considerable power of faith. The players behind also gradually entered that special passage, and also continued to contribute to him with the power of faith. According to the speed of gaining the power of faith at this time, it will not take long to meet the conditions for promotion to the Silver Lord. Zhang Qian couldn't help sighing in his heart. It's hard to get positive beliefs, but it's very easy to get negative beliefs. Then, he shook his head again. In fact, both are difficult, but his status at this time makes the latter easier. If he is just an ordinary mob, he is afraid that he will be hacked to death by the player before he has time to do anything, so how can he have the opportunity to torture the player like this? In addition to the power of faith, Zhang Guo'er's team also contributed a considerable amount of experience to Zhang Qian. As long as he kills a few more players, he can level up. Players need a lot of experience to kill monsters and upgrade, while monsters need less experience to kill players and upgrade. In comparison, players provide more experience points. From the perspective of upgrade speed, the monster side has an absolute advantage. It's a pity that IQ is flawed, and most monsters have no brains, so they can only be slaughtered by players using various methods. The sudden appearance of a lord monster with a brain like Zhang Qian, it must be difficult for the players to get used to it for a while. And this period of time is the golden period of his development. As long as he can seize this opportunity, he may not be unable to survive the impact of the fourth natural disaster. In the Imperial City, Zhang Guo'er and the others looked at each other, feeling very depressed. Yu Wenhao muttered, "This time I'm so useless, I wasted a resurrection coin and came back dead without even meeting the boss." Square-faced priest Yuan Tiangong sighed. There must have been an unknown change in the dark cave. We will post the experience on the forum later to see if anyone else has encountered this experience. Zhang Guo'er gritted her teeth and said, "How many resurrection coins do you have? I'm not reconciled. Let's continue to rush into the dark cave tomorrow. I will definitely pay for the fallen sword master of darkness. Even if Jesus comes, I can't stop it. I said so." Quote. Team member Lu Renjia said with flickering eyes, "Captain, you can only receive one resurrection coin from the temple in a week, and we have only changed jobs for 3 weeks. There is no need to waste resurrection coins in low-level secret places like dark caves, right?" Zhang Guo'er looked at Lu Renjia, and asked sternly, "Apart from what was consumed today, each of us should have 2 resurrection coins left, and 1 is enough for daily life saving. Are you a wild team behind our backs?" Hearing Zhang Guo'er's question, Lu Renjia simply said calmly, "The thief in my cousin's team was killed, and I was asked to help yesterday. I accidentally died once, and now there is only 1 resurrection coin left. Sorry, Captain, I can't go to the secret realm with you tomorrow. By the way, I picked up a strengthening stone when I was dying, and it should be exploded by the skeleton warrior." Hearing this, Yu Wenhao was startled. Is the power-up stone exploding again? Isn't the explosion rate too high? For novice players, early equipment is more practical than enhancement stones, but in the long run, enhancement stones are definitely more valuable. Because the equipment in the early stage is for transitional use, and the reinforcement stones are scarce in the later stage. Low-level secret realms rarely exploded reinforcement stones. Zhang Guo'er's team only killed 2 skeleton warriors in the dark cave, but both of them exploded with reinforcement stones. This explosion rate is obviously abnormal. Zhang Guo'er looked at Lu Renjia and said in surprise, "You managed to snatch the drop before you died. You did a great job." Lu Renjia said proudly, "As a thief, you should be nimble." "Phew, you said you were fat and you were panting." Zhang Guo'er said helplessly, "Then wait until next week before going to the dark cave, and practice leveling in a safer leveling area for the next few days, and let us know in time if there is anything to do, don't hide it like this." At this time, Yuan Tiangong suddenly said, "Go to the forum and have a look, someone replied to me just after I posted my experience." Everyone quickly opened the forum and quickly found the post posted by Yuan Tiangong. Shock. The elite team was wiped out without reason, and the secret place of the dark cave has undergone terrible changes. After clicking on the title, there is a detailed history of Zhang Guo'er's team's encounters in the dark cave. There are already many players commenting and replying at the bottom. Air wall, treasure chest. Is this still the dark cave secret realm that I know? That's right, I remember that there are only a bunch of scumbag skeletons in the dark cave, and the whole secret realm has basically no other benefits except that the fallen dark sword master will burst out a top quality novice weapon that can suck blood. What kind of air wall, Treasure chest and mirror passage have never been encountered before. Did the host make up stories to amuse us? Is the Dark Cave's secret realm so difficult? Isn't that one of the easiest rifts? As time goes by, more and more players come back from the Dark Cave. The post that Yuan Tiangong sent was getting more and more popular. The low-level players around the imperial capital are almost aware of the changes in the Dark Cave. There were fewer and fewer questions under the post, and many people began to seriously discuss the reasons for the changes in the Dark Cave. The strength of the monster has not changed, but the terrain and explosion rate have changed. There is a little less information, and it is impossible to deduce what caused the change. Has anyone pushed in front of the fallen Dark Sword Master? Everything in the secret realm is controlled by the Master of the Secret Realm. Just look at the changes of the fallen Dark Sword Master, and the truth should be revealed. So far, no one has seen the fallen Dark Sword Master. After the changes in the Dark Cave, it is too difficult to walk. No one dares to rush too fast, for fear of falling into some trap. From my point of view, it is a question of whether or not we can see the fallen Dark Sword Master before the secret realm closes tomorrow morning. I suspect that the fallen Dark Sword Master has mutated, and this boss should have given birth to wisdom. There is no need to doubt, it must be the case, otherwise the great secret realm would not undergo such a huge change. Then the question is, what caused the mutation of the fallen Dark Sword Master? The reason why monsters mutate is often very simple. It only needs to kill a large number of players. This is impossible. The fallen Dark Sword Master is not a powerful boss, it is killed by people every day, and there is no time to accumulate experience at all. Then why did this fallen Dark Sword Master mutate? It's a pity that there are restrictions for high-level players to enter low-level secret realms, otherwise they really want to go in and find out. In the Dark Cave, wave after wave of players were wiped out by Zhang Qian's skeleton formation. But under the constant impact of the players, nearly half of the first wave of 60 skeletons had been wiped out. Even if the remaining skeletons focus on fire, the damage they can cause per unit time is no longer enough to instantly kill the player, and it will be a matter of time before they are all killed. Fortunately, Zhang Qian has already set up a follow-up level, and players may not be able to hit the main hall. Suddenly, a golden light flashed across his body, and his own strength also increased slightly. Upgraded, he opened the property panel and took a look. Fallen Dark Sword Master. Level 21 Experience Points 3,343 11th W. Rank Bronze Lord. Faith Value 23 with 100 W. Life 2.1 W. Mana 2,100. Attack 2100-3100. Defense 1100. Skills Dark Sword Slash, Death Contract, Dark 9 Slashes. Territory Dark Cave. Zhang Qian nodded slightly, with a smile on his face again. Although the improvement in all aspects is not too great, but a little more strength will increase the chance of survival when facing players. The faith value has also accumulated a lot, and it is just around the corner to upgrade to the silver rank. Suddenly, Zhang Qian frowned. Why are there so many players coming in all of a sudden? At this moment, it was midnight, and there were less than 6 hours before the entrance to the secret realm was closed. Once the entrance to the rift is closed, all players entering the rift will be forcibly teleported out. This is the protection of the secret realm production capacity by the rules, and it is also the protection of the interests of the players. A secret realm must have enough time to recover in order to ensure that there is energy to condense the dropped items. Low-level secret realms such as dark caves have limited production capacity, so they must be opened for a limited time to keep items from popping out normally every day. In addition, in order to protect the interests of low-level players, the rules restrict players whose level is higher than the master of the secret realm by 5 levels from entering the secret realm, so as to prevent high-level players from occupying low-level resources for a long time. From the perspective of the Monster Lord, this might not be an opportunity for the Monster Lord to advance. If high-level players can enter low-level secret realms at will, then low-level secret realm lords will cut off all hope of advancing. When Zhang Qian inherited the identity of the fallen Dark Sword Master, he knew all about these things well. Right now, the entrance to the secret realm is closed in less than 6 hours, but a large number of players suddenly poured in. Something is obviously not quite right. Entering the secret realm at this time, I'm afraid I won't even be able to drink the soup, so what are you doing here? With the help of the Lord of the Secret Realm, Zhang Qian stared at the group of players who had just entered. Not long after, the group of players who came in behind rushed to the air wall and the treasure chest. The player at the front shouted, "There is really an extra treasure chest, let's see if there is an air wall." They touched the front with their weapons, and they really felt resistance. There is really an air wall. It seems that the secret realm of the Dark Cave has really changed, and the fallen Dark Sword Master has indeed mutated. Hurry up. I heard that the rewards for killing the mutated boss are very generous, and there is a possibility that golden equipment will be revealed. Hurry up and grab the equipment. Golden equipment. Artifacts may even explode. That's a mutant boss, even rarer than a dark gold boss. No matter what he explodes, just grab him. Zhang Qian was speechless for a while, and thought to himself, so you thought I was a mutated boss, but who the hell said that mutated boss will explode magic weapons? As a Lord Boss, Zhang Qian is very clear about the drop rules. What a boss can drop is related to the production capacity of its territory. The reason why a mythical boss can drop artifacts is because its territory is large enough, and the production capacity of the territory is extremely terrifying, and it can gather artifacts under the influence of laws. The fallen Dark Sword Master is just a level 20 Bronze Lord. His territory is so large, and his production capacity is pitifully low. It is impossible to explode the artifact. Unless no one came to kill him for more than 10 or 20 years, maybe it is possible to accumulate enough energy to condense the artifact. But is that possible? Obviously impossible. However, this is also a good thing. The more players come, the more power of faith I will get, and the time to be promoted to the Silver Lord can be advanced a lot. Zhang Qian is very confident in the levels he has set up. Although those levels cannot completely stop the players from advancing, they can greatly slow down the player's pace. Maybe when the entrance to the dungeon is closed tomorrow morning, no one will come to the hall. As long as he can survive this night, Zhang Qian will have enough time to set up more exquisite levels before the next night falls. As time goes by, more and more players enter the mirror channel. And Zhang Qian gained more and more power of faith. At the same time, the first group of players also wiped out all the skeletons in the first level, and are now moving towards the second level set by Zhang Qian. The two teams at the forefront have reached a cooperation agreement and are moving forward together. The thief in front of the road said, "There is a section of waterway here, there should be something weird." The people behind didn't take it seriously. What's so weird? There shouldn't be a trap hidden in the water, right? Puff Tom. Just as he was speaking, the thief who was exploring the way ahead suddenly fell headlong, splashing a large splash of water. He got up quickly, and cursed full of resentment. The water is not deep, but there are steps at the bottom. If you are not careful, you will trip over, so be careful. The others breathed a sigh of relief when they heard the words, but the steps are not too troublesome. The big deal is to use weapons to explore and move forward like before. However, they soon realized that what they thought was a little too simple. A group of people were walking in the water, and suddenly they fell into the water one after another. What the hell? There are not only steps in the water, but also big pits. Is this secret realm poisonous? Come and give me a hand, I'm stuck in the pit between the two steps. Ah, there are steps and pits underwater, and there are air walls above. Zhang Qian invested a lot of mana in this level. The steps and deep pits in the water, as well as the air wall above, all obstacles are staggered, and you may be hit by a little carelessness. But it is not difficult to avoid this kind of obstacle. As long as there is someone in front to explore the way, the people behind can follow the people in front to avoid wrestling. The players are not fools, and they will definitely think of this method. In this way, their speed will be greatly slowed down, and for Zhang Qian, it can be regarded as achieving the purpose of delaying. However, Zhang Qian's purpose is not only to slow down the player's pace, he also wants to earn the power of faith from the players, so he definitely can't let the players pass the level so easily. There is no doubt that Zhang Qian still has a backup. The facts were exactly as Zhang Qian expected. After some players fell down one after another, they began to line up, let one person explore the way in front, and the others followed behind obediently. After walking halfway, the players suddenly felt the ground tremble slightly, and then turned over instantly like a flap. Most of the players exclaimed, fell into the water and disappeared, only 3 survived. It turned out that this place turned out to be a large trap. The ground looked solid, but it was actually a flap. There is a shaft in the middle of the flap, which connects the posterior and anterior. If you walk in the middle, with the support of the shaft and the buoyancy of the water, plus the force balance, the flap will not turn over. However, due to the need to avoid obstacles, the players unknowingly walked to the edge. When the weight of the flap reaches the critical point to trigger the mechanism, it will naturally flip. There were 10 players in the 2 teams, and 7 of them were trapped in the trap below the flap. The remaining 3 were at a loss for a while, not knowing whether to move on or rescue their teammates. If you choose rescue, how should you rescue? The organs in the secret realm seem to be made of stone slabs, and they seem to be easily destroyed, but they are actually protected by rules, just like the map backgrounds in some video games, they are all indestructible. There is only one way to pass the mechanism, and that is to solve the puzzle in advance and be careful. It can't be saved, let's move on. But there are only 3 of us, so I'm afraid we won't be able to reach the fallen Dark Sword Master. Then you can't just go back without doing anything, at least find out what's on the road ahead. Okay, let's move on. The 3 of them walked in the middle of the flap, kept their balance and walked forward cautiously. They finally walked through the trap area, but they saw red spots suddenly lit up in the dark passage ahead. They are very familiar with this kind of red glow, which is the fire of soul in the eyes of skeleton creatures. Whoosh whoosh, accompanied by the sound of piercing through the air, a wave of arrows rained down, mercilessly killing the 3 surviving players. So far, 2 more teams of players have been wiped out. In the next period of time, several waves of players came to the flip trap one after another. Basically no one can escape, even in a relatively large team, only a few people can survive. And the remaining players couldn't get past the block of the second wave of skeleton monsters. Zhang Qian's experience skyrocketed, and soon he rose to another level. Those players who were killed are also constantly providing him with the power of faith. He calculated the time and thought to himself, it seems that no one can make it to the 3rd level today. I seem to have overestimated the strength of the players. Although more and more players poured into the dark cave, these players did not walk together, but moved forward in groups of 3 or 4 keeping a distance. As a result, they cannot share information with each other, and those who are recruited in the front will not inform the people behind. Therefore, the people in the front are recruited, and the people behind will not be defensive. In this way, it is not surprising that wave after wave of players fell into traps and were killed one after another. After all, the Dark Cave is just a low-level secret realm, and the players who come to explore the secret realm are also novice players. Their adaptability is not as good as that of advanced players, and it is not surprising to be trapped to death by traps. In the outside world, as wave after wave of player groups were wiped out, the strategy of the Dark Cave began to be continuously updated. After the players knew the follow-up trap, they couldn't help but gasp. On the players' major social platforms, the Dark Cave has been the top search, and everyone is talking about the various changes in this secret realm. First, the unexpected face smacking of the air wall, then the conspiracy of the mirror channel, and then the invisible induction of the shallow water flap trap. There is something about this boss. Well versed in human nature. Could it be that this mutated and depraved Dark Sword Master was transformed by a certain psychological expert? So understanding of human nature. Why do I think this Dark Cave is getting more and more fun? The previous low-level dungeons were too boring, everyone rushed in and killed the boss, it was really boring. Although the Dark Cave has become more difficult now, why do I have a strong interest in it? Interesting. It is true, that is, every time I die, I need to consume a resurrection coin, otherwise I really want to go in and play. An insider revealed that it seems that the explosion rate of the Dark Cave has also increased a lot. Can you believe that the reinforcement stone can be exploded by killing skeleton monsters? Really, how could the skeleton monster burst out the strengthening stone? That's the hottest monster ever. It's true, our team killed a few skeletons after rushing through the mirror passage, and indeed the strengthening stones exploded. So the exploration value of the Dark Cave has increased. It seems necessary to go in and try tomorrow. Dawn. The morning star rises and fades. With a strange fluctuation, the entrance of the Dark Cave slowly disappeared. Players inside are also forced to teleport outside. It's 6 o'clock so soon. We haven't even finished walking the waterway. It's a waste of time, and I didn't get anything. Hey, let's go back and get ready, come early tonight. Tonight, we must kill the fallen Dark Sword Master. Just you, still want to kill the fallen Dark Sword Master? Are you thinking too much? I think it would be great if you can cross the waterway. Why do you look down on me? I'm fighting with you. Fight hard, whoever is afraid of grandson. Wow, it's a good show, everyone, come and place your bets, the rare game of grandparents and grandchildren, don't miss it. What the hell are you still fighting against? Grandpa doesn't want a grandson anymore, let's kill you first. At the moment the players were teleported out, the entire dark cave sank into another space, the underworld. Zhang Qian was not surprised by this. From the moment he traveled here, he knew that this world of job transfer for all people was composed of countless planes. The plane of the starry sky, the plane of the kingdom of heaven, the plane of the abyss, the plane of hell, the plane of the underworld, and, the foundation of all planes, the human plane. The living live in the human plane, while the dead are attracted by different planes and transformed into creatures of different planes. Different planes are protected by different rules, and the human plane is eroded by different planes, so various rules are intertwined, making it very complicated. The secret realm of the dark cave belongs to the plane of the underworld, and it will only come to the world at night. There are many similar secret realms, but the arrival conditions are different. There is no doubt that the fallen Dark Sword Master is an out-and-out undead lord. There are 3 lords in Bone Mountain, namely Pale Skeleton Sword Master, Ice Phantom Sword Master and Fallen Dark Sword Master. Players call these 3 lords the 3 Musketeers of Death Bone Mountain. 3 Musketeers of Dead Bone Mountain. Zhang Qian murmured, I don't like this title. From now on, Dead Bone Mountain can only have 1 master. His ambition condensed into a flame in his eyes, as if it could burn everything in the world. Lord monsters are subject to various restrictions in the human world, but they are not subject to any restrictions in their plane. Except for the human plane, there is only one rule in other planes, the strong are respected. Zhang Qian is still unable to fight against the 4th natural disaster, but he can expand his territory in the underworld. After all, brainless undead are easier to deal with, aren't they? Following Zhang Qian's order, hundreds of skeletons under his command walked out of the dark cave in unison, heading towards the bone forest not far away. Among the 3 leaders of Dead Bone Mountain, the Pale Skeleton Sword Master is the weakest, and the Ice Phantom Sword Master is immune to physical attacks. Zhang Qian didn't have any spells now, so he could only choose the Pale Skeleton Sword Master as his target. He rode the skeleton warhorse subdued by the dark contract, and moved forward quickly surrounded by the sea of skeletons. Not long after, he came to the other side of Dead Bones Mountain. This is a peak as high as 10,000 renren, from the foot of the mountain to the mountainside, from the mountainside to the top of the mountain. Even in the white snow, countless bones and weapons were buried. The Dead Bone Mountain in the world is only a partial projection of this mountain, so the Dead Bone Mountain is not considered tall in the human world. But in this underworld, Dead Bone Mountain is very spectacular. From the top of the mountain, there is a terrifying energy suppressing countless bones, preventing them from giving birth to wisdom. Only at the foot of the mountain, in this area that is less affected by the qi mechanism, will there be bones that will give birth to wisdom. Zhang Qian guessed that there must be something extraordinary buried on the top of Dead Bones Mountain. But his current strength is still too weak to go to the top of the mountain to find out. Click! Suddenly a skeleton stood up in front of him. This is a newly born undead, without any consciousness but completely free. Zhang Qian raised his hand and shot a black light, hitting the undead that had just been revived. Immediately, the newly revived skeleton monster knelt on the ground to express its submission, and then merged into Zhang Qian's troops. That black light is exactly the dark contract that almost all undead lords will have. As long as the strength is stronger than the target, you can use this skill to control the soul of the undead and take them into loyal subordinates. The reason why Zhang Qian wants to expand in the underworld is to occupy more territories and subdue more undead. Not long after, he brought his men to the territory of the Pale Skeleton Sword Master. The Pale Skeleton Sword Master also sensed the invasion, and immediately summoned all his subordinates to resist. The battle between the two undead troops was on the verge of breaking out, and then they fought together in silence. There were no roars or screams on the entire battlefield, only the sound of weapons colliding with bones. The battle between the undead is so unpretentious, they have no emotion, no consciousness, and no blood. Will only fight silently until the fire of the soul is extinguished. Zhang Qian rode a war horse, held a blood-red sword in his hand, and searched for the figure of the pale skeleton sword master among countless skeletons. Occasionally, a skeleton with closed eyes bumped into him, but he easily dealt with it with a single sword strike. Finally, he found the pale skeleton sword master. The pale skeleton sword master seemed to feel threatened, and turned his head to stare at Zhang Qian with empty eye sockets. It was wearing armor and was also holding a big sword in its hand. There was not a trace of flesh and blood on its body. The moment it saw Zhang Qian, the fire of soul in its eye sockets jumped wildly, then it raised the big sword in its hand, pointed at Zhang Qian and rushed over. Zhang Qian went up to him on his war horse, and the two collided quickly. Clang! The two great swords collided, and the pale skeleton sword master retreated again and again, apparently at a disadvantage in terms of strength. Among the three swordsmen of Dead Bone Mountain, the ice-gloomy soul swordmaster is physically immune, and the pale skeleton swordmaster is immune to puncture. Only the fallen dark swordmaster is immune to nothing, but possesses the most powerful power. And this was just before. Now that Zhang Qian's level has risen, his strength will naturally become stronger, and it is even more impossible for the pale skeleton sword master to be his opponent. But the undead do not understand fear. Even if they know that they will disappear completely if they continue to fight, they will not give in because of this. So the pale skeleton sword master only took a few steps back, and then rushed over again. It seems to have inherited the swordsmanship of his lifetime. Seeing that Zhang Qian was no match for his strength, he began to use skills, and the black big sword in his hand became more and more organized as he used it. Zhang Qian also displayed his inherited swordsmanship and fought hard against the pale skeleton sword master. For a while, the two were equally indifferent, and neither could do anything to the other. But as time went by, the pale skeleton sword master gradually fell into a disadvantage. It was at a disadvantage in terms of strength. Every time a weapon collided it would be shaken back a few steps, and this was Zhang Qian's opportunity. Zhang Qian could always leave a few sword marks on the pale skeleton sword master's body when his steps were messy. Finally, one of the pale bone sword master's femurs suffered heavy blows one after another, and it was broken in two under the heavy load, and his body instantly fell to one side. Zhang Qian exerted all his strength and slashed at the neck of the pale skeleton sword master, beheading his head to the ground. Even so, the pale skeleton sword master has not fallen. It still has some health remaining, and can connect any part of the bone to a limb at any time. The premise is that it still has the opportunity to do so. Zhang Qian held the sword and walked up to the head of the pale skeleton sword master, and said coldly, "Surrender or perish." The soul fire flickered in the eyes of the pale skeleton sword master, and finally became dim after a while. Zhang Qian smiled coldly, and shot a black light into the head of the pale skeleton sword master. The pale skeleton sword master moved the remaining body, first connected the skull and then the leg bones, and then knelt down on one knee in front of Zhang Qian to express his submission. At this point, Zhang Qian finally had a lord-level subordinate under his command. A new day ends and night falls again. Countless players have gathered at the entrance of the dark cave, and their levels are basically around level 20. Among the players present, many even came from other places. Everyone here has only one purpose, which is to break through the new dark cave. So excited. The dark cave hasn't been this lively for a long time. Hi, it's a low-level dungeon, and not many people usually come here. Although the blood-red sword has good attributes, it is only a transitional weapon after all. Rather than grabbing a weapon with so many people, it is better to upgrade as soon as possible to get a high level one. A secret place. That's right, but it's different now. The Lord in the Dark Cave seems to have mutated, and no one knows what kind of treasure the mutated Lord will reveal. Moreover, the mobs in this secret realm exploded with strengthening stones, and the value can be said to be greatly increased. The attractiveness is naturally much stronger than before. That's right, a lot of powerful people have come this time. Look at the buddy over there holding a huge sword. I heard that he is a hidden profession. He seems to be called Cheng Baifeng. He is very powerful. He is already equipped with silver equipment. I guess the ordinary monsters in the dark cave can't break his defense. There is also that girl, the most beautiful one in the north. Have you seen the magic staff in her hand? I heard that it is a piece of gold equipment that can grow. Hiss. Is it real or not? Who is this girl? There is only a piece of growable gold equipment in her 20s. She must have a good family background, right? Of course, she is Qin Zihua, the eldest daughter of the Qin family in the imperial capital. She is a hidden professional sky fire mage, and the power of all fire skills has been increased by 100%. I guess she is here to join in the fun, because she has no shortage of resources. Look at the archer riding the wolf in the east. Do you know who he is? Who is he? He is Lu Xuanfang, the eldest son of the Lu family in the imperial capital, the ice shooter Lu Xuanfang. His normal attack has a freezing effect. After being shot by him, he will be unable to move. All the resources of the family were obtained by himself. As for the frost wolf under his seat, it is said that he risked his life and spent a lot of resurrection coins to steal it from the Frostwolf King's lair. It's so terrifying. Even the Frostwolf King dares to provoke him. This is a real ruthless person. That's right. These are still local young heroes, and there are also many powerful young people from other places. I am afraid that the fallen Dark Sword Master will be doomed tonight. The sky was getting darker and darker, and with a strange fluctuation, the entrance of the dark cave finally appeared again. A large number of players rushed into the dark cave, but some players did not enter in a hurry. In the North Wind squad, a teammate said impatiently, "Captain, let's go in quickly, or we won't be able to grab that mutated and corrupted Dark Sword Master if we're late." Cheng Baifeng shook his head and said, "Don't worry, I guess the mutated and depraved Dark Sword Master is not that easy to deal with. It's better to let the people in front explore the way." Another teammate said, "However, those who entered the dark cave yesterday have already gone 2/3 of the way to the prize money. There are strategies for this 2/3 of the way, and it may not be able to delay much time. If we enter late, it's too late. It's possible that you won't be able to keep up with the first echelon." Cheng Baifeng was still indifferent. Since the fallen Dark Sword Master already has a very high IQ, he will try his best to protect himself from being killed by players. The traps may become denser as he gets to the back. How many of those who go in first can see? It's hard to say about the fallen Dark Sword Master. Let's stay outside for a while, and soon there will be people posting strategies on the forum. With such benefits, why should we go in and risk ourselves? Are the resurrection coins worthless? It turns out that the captain planned this, and it really is a scheming plan. The captain is wise. Several teammates nodded suddenly when they heard the words, and immediately stopped asking. Cheng Baifeng smiled slightly, with a hint of complacency flashing across his face. Qin Zihua's team. This is a team made up of all women. The team is fat, swallows and thin, and every woman has good looks and a good figure. As the team leader, Qin Zihua even overwhelmed the crowd, and she looked very dazzling under the foil of several teammates. "Captain, what are we waiting for? If you don't go in, you won't be able to drink the soup." A female teammate with a very exaggerated career line asked carelessly. Qin Zihua is very quiet. She has a reassuring and indifferent nature, which is very disproportionate to the explosive lethality of her Skyfire mage. Hearing her teammate's question, she said calmly, "It's not easy to fall into the Dark Sword Master. Yesterday's strategy may not be effective. We may suffer a lot if we enter the dark cave now." Another teammate with 2 ponytails asked, "Sister Zihua, what do you mean, the dark cave will change again? Even harder than yesterday?" Qin Zihua nodded slightly. Since he knows to protect himself by changing the terrain, it is impossible to change it only once. Therefore, the terrain of the dark cave today may not be the same as yesterday, and yesterday's strategy is very likely to be invalid. Chapter 11. The big wave female team member in black silk sat on the stone with her legs crossed. While she was adorning the manicure on her hands, she said boredly, "Why do we come to such a low-level secret realm? Since we know that this place is very troublesome, why don't we go to other secret realms? Playing puzzle games, traps, etc. are the most waste of brain cells. I don't like this secret realm." Qin Zihua's 4 teammates are all very distinctive. The giant sword fighter with a plump body and deep career line is called Yu Yaya. the petite lowly priest with double ponytails is called Sha Miaojun, and the archer with black silk and big waves is called Li Xiangjun, wearing a leather jacket the shadow assassin in leather pants with a bee waist and long legs is called Yang Weiwei. Counting Qin Zihua, there are a total of 3 hidden professions in this team, their strength can be imagined. With a smile on the corner of Yang Weiwei's mouth, she said lightly, I think this kind of secret realm is only interesting. If I can even conquer this kind of secret realm, I think there will be no accidents when I explore the way in the future. Qin Zihua said calmly, that's what I mean. No matter what can explode in the dark cave, it doesn't mean much to us, but the various traps in this secret realm can exercise our abilities. If you can fully adapt to this secret realm, you may be able to handle it with ease when you reach a high-level secret realm in the future, saving a lot of resurrection coins. Li Xiangjun was puzzled and said, if that's the case, shouldn't we go in earlier? Qin Zihua shook her head and said, exercising is not about sending you to death. At the very least, we need to make sure that there is no change in the arrangement of traps in the secret realm. Lu Xuanfang's team did not enter the dark cave either. Lu Xuanfang's teammates also had doubts in their hearts, but none of them asked questions. This is the style of this squad, everyone believes in a code of conduct, talk less and do more. They waited quietly until the strategy was updated on the internet. Lu Xuanfang said coldly, the strategy is useless, go in. At the same time, Cheng Baifeng's team and Qin Zihua's team, as well as the heads of other player groups who were standing still, also issued orders to enter the secret realm. In the dark hall, Zhang Qian paid close attention to the movements of the players. There were too many players today, which was both an opportunity and a challenge for him. Although he had expected this situation a long time ago, he still didn't dare to be careless. After a day of adjustments, the entire dark cave has undergone earth-shaking changes. The first players to enter the secret realm were bewildered when they saw the various changes in the secret realm, almost thinking that they had come to another secret realm. In the past, the dark cave was just a simple cave, with traces of natural weathering everywhere. Now, the natural caves are replaced by boxy man-made corridors. The dirt and stone floor turned into a mirror-like smooth floor, and various murals of unknown meaning were engraved on the walls and ceiling. The only thing that hasn't changed is that the black is still the same black. The players' combat boots stepped on the floor, making a crisp sound, which echoed in the corridor for a long time. What's going on? Didn't we enter the dark cave? Yeah, it's so strange, how did the dark cave become like this? Be careful, yesterday's strategy is of little reference value. There are 3 modes for players to form teams, one is the squad mode with a maximum of 5 people, the other is a team mode with a maximum of 50 people, and the other is an army mode with a maximum of 10,000 people. The first players to enter the dark cave formed a team of 50 people. Under the command of the regiment leader, they remained vigilant and proceeded cautiously in a specific formation. There are thieves and assassins ahead, and everything is organized in an orderly manner, which is completely different from yesterday's mob. Zhang Qian couldn't help but feel very fortunate. If he hadn't been prepared, these players would have been able to kill them tonight. Suddenly, a thief walking in the front said, there is a treasure chest ahead. The group leader said, go and open the treasure chest. This must be the first small trap mentioned in the guide yesterday. Be careful not to hit your nose. After the thief received the order, he immediately raised his hand and groped forward, slowly approaching the treasure chest. But after only 2 steps, the thief felt that his feet were empty, and he fell like a dog eating shit, and even knocked his teeth on the treasure chest. It turned out that there was a false floor, which would collapse if stepped on lightly. The thief only paid attention to the air wall above, and didn't pay attention to his feet at all. It was also because he didn't react fast enough, otherwise such a small trap would not be difficult to avoid. How insidious. The thief got up covering his face, opened the treasure chest cursingly, but saw that there was nothing in the treasure chest, and he felt extremely wronged. This is too picky. There was still a copper coin yesterday, and you don't even bother to put the copper coin today. The head of the group stepped forward and comforted, it's just a copper coin, don't take it to heart, and continue to explore the way. With a depressed mood, the thief bypassed the treasure chest and continued on. After going forward for a while, the thief suddenly said, there is a waterway ahead, and the order of the checkpoints has changed. Everyone's expression suddenly became dignified. Judging from yesterday's strategy, the waterway is undoubtedly a difficult level. There may be new changes in this waterway today, so we must be more cautious. The team of 50 at the front didn't go far, and the players behind followed. For a moment, the originally empty corridor also seemed a little crowded. The scene also looked a lot chaotic. Not all players were organized and disciplined. In fact, most of the casual players are mobs, and their purpose of coming here is not to gain the greatest benefits from killing the corrupted Dark Sword Master, but with the mentality of killing a few skeletons to get some strengthening stones to sell for money. Even in the era of job change for all, not everyone is suitable to be a player. Some people are naturally good at playing games, and no one wants to form a team with others, or they form a team but other people in the team are also good at it. This kind of people are like crucian carp crossing the river. They don't know what to eat, so they join in wherever there is excitement. They didn't have any rules to explore the secret realm, just relying on a few resurrection coins in their hands to forcibly go forward. If you can't get there, you can earn money. If you can't get there, you can hang up and go back. It's a big deal to rest for a week and come back again. At this moment, the elite team saw that the passage ahead had turned into a waterway, and they all slowed down to wait for others to step forward to explore the way. And those scattered people were afraid that if they ran too slowly, they would be highlighted by others, so they swarmed into the waterway. Then, with the splash of water, one after another figures fell into the water like dumplings. Why is the water so deep? Doesn't it mean it's not even up to your knees? The strategy is fake. I jumped 1.8 meters and it didn't matter. Who said it was only knee-deep? I was cheated. How angry. This dog is more dog than boss. He even quietly changed the depth of the water channel. In this wave, Zhang Qian gained at least 20,000 beliefs. Seeing the appearance of the individual players, those elite teams gloated and scolded the idiots. This group of rabble is still useful. With them, we don't need to explore the way ourselves. The thieves who had been tripped by the trap before looked rejoicing. If there hadn't been this group of scattered people charging ahead, he might have been the first to fall into the water. Because he subconsciously believed that the waterway was as shallow as yesterday, and he didn't intend to test the depth in advance. The team leader smiled. Yeah, let's just follow this group of casual players, it will indeed save a lot of trouble. Soon, the casual player who fell into the water swam through the deep water area. In fact, this deep water area is not long. Zhang Qian really knows the creatures like players very well. No matter how complicated the dungeon is, they can come up with a strategy just by going through it once. The purpose of setting up the deep water area is to engage the player's mentality. Don't players believe in strategies? Then come something different from the guide, and ask if you are angry. Before, he didn't have enough belief points to convert mana, so he couldn't make the trap too fine. Now Zhang Qian already has a certain foundation of belief, of course, how to torture people. Only in this way can more power of faith be obtained. Let's get down to business. After the casual players swam out of the deep water area, they finally felt down to earth. But before they had gone far, they felt that their feet were empty, and they almost stepped into the deep pit again. It turned out that the floor at the bottom of the water looked square, but it was actually a half-cylindrical cross-section. There was a shaft at the center of the half-cylindrical circle, which was inserted into the holes in the walls on both sides. Stepping on the semi-column is like stepping on a balance car. If you don't pay attention, you may fall forward or backward. Fortunately, after suffering a big loss, the casual players finally became vigilant. When they felt something strange under their feet, they immediately withdrew some strength, so they didn't fall directly into the hollow under the half-cylinder. Haha, you still want me to fall for this little trick? This boss is a bit naive. Some players smiled triumphantly, then stepped on the central axis of the half-cylinder, and jumped forward vigorously. Then, he let out a miserable scream. Ah, there's more ahead. My leg is stuck. The center of gravity of the half-cylinder is down, and it will return to its position immediately after being stepped on, but the victim's leg is still in the pit, so the edges of the two adjacent half-cylinders will clamp the victim's leg. It means that the player has a digital body, otherwise, with the weight of the stone half-cylinder, it can definitely break the human leg. The faces of the players behind turned pale one after another. It is not difficult to deal with such a semi-cylindrical floor trap if there is only one or two. But if there are all in front, then this section of the road will be difficult to walk. But whatever you are afraid of, you will come. After people got stuck in the trap one after another, the players finally no longer had any luck. It seems that the front section is full of this kind of semi-cylindrical trap. It's impossible to walk through it. You have to go through it on your stomach. Go over there on your stomach. Isn't your head submerged in the water? Although the water in the shallow water area is shallow, it can still cover your calves. No way, the semi-cylindrical flap traps are adjacent to each other. Unless absolute balance can be guaranteed, no matter which one you step on, you will flip over. If you flip over, you will be stuck. If you get stuck for a while, you will not be able to get out. This delay will continue. I'm afraid that if the entrance to the secret realm is closed, we won't be able to break through this waterway. What kind of mind is this boss? Even this kind of trap can be figured out, take it. Really, it's not very lethal, but extremely insulting. The elite team following behind the casual players was also dumbfounded. This, we have to crawl over. Wouldn't this be too embarrassing? Is this intentional? If you want to kill me, give me 5 body blows first. Did this boss do it on purpose? The point now is, what should we do? Do we have to lie down too? Then it's better to kill me, in order to fight a boss. As for leader, why don't we leave the secret realm? I can't afford to lose this person. The team leader is also struggling in his heart. At this moment, many casual players have already started to lie down. Like frogs, they use their hands as webs and move forward little by little with the help of friction. Every time you move a certain distance, you have to raise your head and breathe heavily. At first, some people played tricks by pressing down on the front end of the semi-cylindrical body and pushing forward through the gap with their fingers. But when their fingers were pinched a few times and they cried out in pain, they no longer dared to play tricks. Seen from the back, how funny those unmanned players in front were. It was really stupid and funny. The leader of the elite group also had to admit that the trick of the secret boss was really wicked. It is indeed difficult for elite players to save face and move forward like this. After a while, Cheng Baifeng, Qin Zihua, Lu Xuanfeng and others also rushed up with their teammates. When the head of the elite group saw these people, he couldn't help but feel a little hopeful. What would the elite of these elites do in the face of such a hurdle? He focused his eyes on Qin Zihua and other beauties, and said in his heart, let these female players move forward like frogs. Is it more uncomfortable than killing them? The facts were as expected by the head of the elite group. After Qin Zihua figured out what happened, she decisively led her teammates back the same way. Sister Zihua, are we not going to enter this secret realm? Lori Pastor Sha Miaojun asked. Qin Zihua said calmly, go back and prepare some props, and come back tomorrow. Yang Weiwei muttered, if there is another embarrassing level tomorrow, will I have to quit again? Qin Zihua paused slightly, shook her head and said, let's talk about it later. Several other well-known masters also led their teams back along the original road. They are all dignified figures, and they would rather break through the secret realm one day later than pass the level in that shameful way like those scattered people. Seeing this scene, Zhang Qian was not disappointed. Because he knows that even if these elite players leave, they will still contribute negative emotions to him. This is not a random guess, because there are system prompts. Negative emotions from player Qin Zihua plus 666. Converted into 666 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Yang Weiwei plus 666. Converted into 666 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Cheng Baifeng plus 777. Converted into 777 points of power of faith. Negative emotions from player Lu Xuanfeng plus 777. Converted into 777 points of power of faith. It is estimated that the beauties in front of the players also felt that the fallen Dark Sword Master played very smoothly, so the negative emotions they gave were relatively slippery. And those guys in the back may be full of hatred in their hearts, which is why they are so angry. Back to the scene. Before the waterway, many face-conscious players were still hesitating. At this time, the head of the elite group who arrived here first had already made a decision. He gritted his teeth and said, go, we've been lying on our stomachs too. As soon as this remark came out, the entire elite team contributed another wave of negative emotions to Zhang Qian. As elite teams make choices, many others make the same choice. Lie down. Didn't you see that the famous local elite groups are having parties? In this way, wave after wave of players, while crossing the waterway on their stomachs, contributed negative emotions to Zhang Qian. Zhang Qian's faith value is growing rapidly, and it is estimated that it will not be long before he can reach the standard for being promoted to a Silver Lord. But, just the Silver Lord is enough. It seems that every time the Lord advances, he has a chance to super-evolve. The Lord should be the king when he goes up, right? How about trying to super-evolve to become a king? Seeing such a smooth development, Zhang Qian's ambition gradually swelled. The strength of monsters can not only be improved vertically, but also horizontally. The so-called vertical promotion refers to step-by-step promotion according to the development route of bronze, silver, gold, dark gold, legend, epic, legend and myth. Each upgrade ignores the level, and the attributes are doubled. The horizontal promotion is to open the super evolution mode according to the developmental route of the Lord, the King, the Monarch, and the Emperor. Once the evolution is successful, the attribute will increase tenfold, and the strength increase will be extremely terrifying. Normally, only 10 players can kill the Bronze Monster Lord of the same level without dying. But to kill the Bronze Monster King of the same level, even 100 people would not be able to do it. Because the King's defense is 10 times that of the Lord's, and even if the player is equipped with top-quality equipment of the corresponding level, the attack cannot be increased by 10 times. Therefore, when the player faces the Monster King of the same level, almost any attack cannot break the defense. In this case, if you want to kill the Monster King, you can only form an army of players, relying on more people and using various real injuries to grind slowly. And the Monster King can instantly kill any player of the same level with a random blow. The comparison of the combat power of the two sides can be said to be extremely exaggerated. If Zhang Qian can evolve into a king boss, it will not be so easy for players to kill him. How could he not be moved by this? I don't know. How much power of faith is needed to complete super evolution? Zhang Qian didn't know what to do, but thought he could give it a try. At this time, many players have passed through the trap-intensive area, and the waterway has come to an end. But at this moment, there was a sound of breaking through the air in front of him. It's a skeleton archer. Hurry up, everyone, rush over and kill them all. Explosive strengthening stone. Kill. The players who crossed the semi-cylindrical trap area straightened up and rushed towards the crowd of skeleton monsters like crazy, not paying attention to what was under their feet. Suddenly, the ground trembled slightly, and then the floor flipped instantly. Players walking in this area all fell into the trap at once. Big flap trap. The sinking area of the large flap with a length of more than 10 meters. The players immediately thought of the guide on the social platform. The players in the back who hadn't had time to step on the big flip quickly stopped. They watched the players in front get trapped under the big flip and couldn't get out, and they were very grateful. If I was a little faster, I am afraid that I will be crushed and drowned alive. What the hell, the big flap trap is still there, but it's moved to the back. This boss is too cunning. What a beep. There is a group of skeleton monsters in the front, a semi-cylindrical trap in the back, and a big flap trap in the middle. It's a dilemma. I can't help it, keep going. Run from the middle of the big flap, you're sure to be fine. That's the only way to go. The tank brothers donate to the front, and the nanny will quickly add blood to them. As long as they rush through this section of the road, they will be fine. At the critical moment, this group of mob finally knew how to cooperate. Several meat shield players rushed up to the large flap and quickly passed along the central axis. Seeing that he was about to rush over the big flap, the person in the front suddenly tripped and fell forward and fell into the water. The people behind quickly slowed down and walked forward with their weapons. It turned out that in the last half, the ground was actually covered with small tables 20 centimeters high. The meat shield in the front was only focused on rushing forward and didn't pay attention to these obstacles at all, so it was tripped. The players cursed again for a while, and then walked carefully over the big flap. After waiting in the water for a while, I saw the dry floor a few meters away. But there is already occupied by a group of skeleton monsters. If you want to go up, you can only destroy the group of skeleton monsters. Having already rushed here, it is naturally impossible for the players to back down, so one by one screamed and rushed towards the group of skeleton monsters. Fireball, Frostbolt, Thunderbolt. For a moment, the channels illuminated by various skills flickered on and off. Zhang Qian, who was far away in the main hall, also began to micromanage the skeleton monster group. The skeleton warriors in the front are firmly blocked, while the skeleton archers and skeleton mages in the rear move further back while attacking, and gradually distance themselves from the players. Almost instantly, the 5 melee skeletons in the front row were emptied of health and turned into a pile of bones. Some players picked up the dropped items, and immediately shouted excitedly, "The skeleton monster really exploded the strengthening stone. Awesome. One thing to say, this trip is worth it." When the other players heard this, they rushed forward as if they had been injected with chicken blood. For ordinary players, strengthening stones are indeed very valuable. After they get the reinforcement stones, they often sell them to rich players to save money to buy advanced equipment. It is not until the level is raised to the point that it cannot be raised, that it will consider strengthening the equipment on the body. In terms of actual value, a strengthening stone is at most about the same as a piece of level 20 bronze equipment. But who made strengthening stones a consumable that advanced players need a lot? Therefore, the price of strengthening stones has remained high, but low-level equipment is not worth much. For players in their 20s, selling a reinforcement stone can even buy a set of level 30 silver equipment. Obviously, a set of level 30 silver equipment is more practical. Now, just by killing a few skeletons, it is possible to get a set of level 30 silver equipment. How can the players not be crazy? Seeing that the melee player in front got the strengthening stone, the long-range player in the back suddenly felt dissatisfied. These ranged players worked hard for a long time, and their output was far higher than that of melee players, but they didn't get anything. It's strange that they can balance in their hearts. Under the temptation of the strengthening stone, the remote players also began to rush forward, and the scene gradually became chaotic. Seeing this situation, Zhang Qian in the hall couldn't help but sneered, and immediately controlled the remote skeleton monsters to kill those aggressive remote players one by one. These long-distance players have high output, but their bodies are very fragile. Since they rushed to the front, they were like fat in their mouths. How could Zhang Qian let them go? Wave after wave of concentrated fire, the remote players fell one after another. Zhang Qian's experience value also began to skyrocket, and he had reached a critical point after only killing a dozen or so long-range players. With a flash of golden light, he upgraded again. And as more and more players entered the waterway, he gained more and more negative beliefs. At this moment, his faith value is gradually approaching the 1,000,000 mark. After about half an hour, all the skeleton monsters guarding the end of the waterway were finally killed. At the same time, Zhang Qian excitedly opened the properties panel. However, behind the rank column of the property panel, there are 2 more options. With the accumulation of 1,000,000 faith points, there are 2 more options behind Zhang Qian's rank column. These 2 options are evolution and super evolution. Generally, when the Lord advances, he basically does not consciously make a choice actively, so he can only perform ordinary evolution by default. Without any hesitation, Zhang Qian directly clicked on super evolution. In the next second, millions of faith points were instantly emptied. At the same time, a mysterious force appeared out of thin air and began to strengthen Zhang Qian in all directions. After a while, he opened the attribute panel again, only to see that all the attributes had doubled, and his rank had also become the Silver King. Fallen Dark Sword Master. Level 22 experience points, 6.3 with 24 W. Rank Silver King. Faith value -998 with 1000 W. Countdown to super evolution 119, 59, 48. Life 4.4 W. Mana 4400. Attack 4400, 6400. Defense 4400. Skills Dark Sword / Death Pact, Dark 9 / Dark Flame. Territory Dark Cave. Looking at this attribute panel, feeling the powerful and terrifying power in his body, Zhang Qian's face was cloudy. Mega evolution includes ordinary evolution, but it is a long-term process. 5 days. If he couldn't gather the belief values required for super evolution within 5 days, it would mean that the evolution failed, and Zhang Qian would be beaten back to his original form, becoming a Bronze Lord again, and losing the chance of super evolution forever. It's really a huge challenge to gather the power of 10 million beliefs in 5 days. Zhang Qian took a deep breath, a gleam flashed in his eyes, his expression was very calm, without any anxiety. Although it is difficult to gather the power of 10 million beliefs in 5 days, it is not impossible. As long as there are enough players for him to torture, let alone 10 million, how difficult is it to have 100 million? And it is not difficult to attract enough players, just continue to increase the burst rate. So, what is more precious than strengthening stones, but does not consume much production capacity? Suddenly, a light flashed in Zhang Qian's eyes, and he thought of a highly sought-after item among players, fashion. Hehe, being strong or weak is only a matter of a moment, but being handsome is a matter of a lifetime. Compared with fashion, the commercial value of reinforcement stones is still much lower. There are also various fashions in this world. Some fashions do not have any attributes, and some fashions have attributes that are comparable to artifacts. Regardless of whether it has attributes or not, as long as it is fashion, it has one common feature, that is good looking. Monster territory condenses and drops items only look at attributes. The better the attributes, the higher the production capacity consumed. Fashions without any attributes consume very low production capacity. But even so, there are very few monsters that break fashion. Because in the eyes of the rules, fashion without attributes is a worthless item. The rules need to guarantee the interests of the players to a certain extent, so without the interference of subjective consciousness, the fashion explosion rate will be maintained at a low level. Obviously, the players don't understand the good intentions of the rules at all, and their pursuit of fashion has reached a feverish level. In the eyes of players, especially those with money, a piece of clothing is worth far more than a piece of unique equipment even if it doesn't add any attributes. This is only the value of men's fashion. The market price of women's fashion can increase tenfold. A smile appeared on Zhang Qian's cold face again. Then, let's make the players even crazier. In the passage of the secret realm, the players who eliminated the first wave of skeleton monsters were rushing to the next level at full speed without any delay. Occasionally someone triggers a trap along the way, but it can't stop the large army from advancing. It didn't take long before he came to the second level, the mirror channel. Still subtly, the player didn't realize that he had walked into the mirror passage at first, until someone started wrestling for no reason. Then, they discovered that the ground had deflected at an angle and became smoother. Realizing that they had entered the mirrored tunnel, they immediately began walking against the walls. No one wants to take a step and fall. Now that they know the horror of the mirror passage, and there are strategies to provide countermeasures, it is not surprising that they directly choose to stick to the wall. Be careful, you're in the mirror channel. A player with a kind heart even yelled kindly. With the reminder from the people in front, the people behind will naturally not be so easy to wrestle. But not long after walking, the person in front suddenly stopped. Did you make a mistake? There is glue on the wall. Glue. The others didn't realize it for a while. In their limited gaming experience, they had never encountered such a thing as glue. The player at the front gritted his teeth and said, "That's right, it's glue. I'm glued to the wall. I can't even move at all. What the hell, this boss is really a boss, and he even uses glue. Abnormal." The players behind were stunned. What kind of brain can come up with such a level? The angle of the ground is getting bigger and bigger, and there is still glue on the wall. How can people live like this? What is wrong with the lord of this secret realm? There is glue on the wall, and the difficulty of the mirror passage has suddenly increased a lot. One thing to say, this boss is simply a genius. That's right, if I were to be the boss, maybe even if I tried my best, I wouldn't be able to think of such a perverted method. However, this boss is too afraid of death. It seems that everything he thinks is a way to delay time. Stop praising the boss. If you leave him alone, he won't let us go. Let's think about how to get through this mirror passage. How can this be passed? I think it's better to go back home. This boss can't be fought. Don't be discouraged, there must be a way. Everyone brainstorms and thinks hard. Hey, why don't we build a human bridge? Bridge, what do you mean? What else do you mean? Isn't it just to let some people stick to the wall actively, so that others can support their bodies to pass? What a bad idea. It's really a bad idea. Who wants to take the initiative to stick themselves on the wall? I have a solution. I take out the useless things on my body and stick them on the wall. Then we will have a support point, and there is no need to build a bridge. This method is good. I'm afraid there won't be so many sundries. Let's take one step at a time. If you can't make it through, there's nothing wrong with it. It has to be said that the wisdom of the players really cannot be underestimated. A group of rabble, after some discussion, just thought of a solution to the glue. They took out all kinds of strange things from the backpack, and then stuck them on the glue wall at intervals, creating a series of support points. Seeing this scene, Zhang Qian couldn't help nodding secretly in his heart. Even though he expected this trick, it was still difficult to break it. After all, his mana was limited, so it was not easy to make fuss on the ground, and he didn't have the energy to make more tricks on the wall. But still the same sentence, these traps are just small tricks that are not on the table, and they exist to delay the player's progress and mentality. The glue wall has realized its existence value. Although the players have found a way to get through this passage at this moment, the resentment in their hearts is still like a blowout, and they can't hold it down at all. After about half an hour, a player finally walked out of the mirror passage. Undoubtedly, another wave of skeleton monsters greeted them. After paying some price, this wave of skeleton monsters was also wiped out. And under Zhang Qian's arrangement, among this wave of skeleton monsters, one of the skeleton monsters exploded. In addition to a few pieces of junk equipment, among the dropped items is a power-up stone and a piece of clothing. The player closest to him rubbed his eyes and yelled in disbelief, "Wow! Look, the skeleton monster is out of fashion. Am I dazzled?" A player next to him glanced at it, and his eyes widened, and he exclaimed in disbelief, "Long time to see you." Skeleton monsters burst into fashion. It's really the first time for a big girl to get on a sedan chair. Then, the two rushed towards the fashion in unison. As for the strengthening stone that they regarded as a treasure earlier, they didn't even look at it. The two grabbed the corner of the fashion at the same time, and neither of them would let go first. After a brief stalemate, the two began to fight, cursing while beating. "I discovered fashion first, let it go. You fart, it's because everyone killed it together, whoever snatches it will own it. Don't let go, go to hell. Just because you little trash wants to steal fashion, dream about it." Players can maliciously PK in the secret realm. In order to compete for a boss, it is normal for thousands of people to fight in the secret realm. The reason why there were very few fights between players in the past 2 days was because they hadn't seen the boss yet. At this moment, it was just a piece of fashion, and it severely tore this piece on the surface. As the two players fought, others quickly joined in. For a while, the scene became more and more chaotic, and the fashion disappeared. I don't know which lucky guy got it. The players fought for a while, and more people died. When everyone regained their composure, there were only a dozen people left nearby. Seeing another player chasing after them, they had no choice but to exercise restraint, pretending that nothing happened, and continue to explore the depths of the cave. After walking for a while, the passage ahead changed again. The flat floor was replaced by strings of stone balls. This passage was somewhat similar to the previous semi-cylindrical trap, but more extreme. It is also a central axis stuck in the walls on both sides, except that the strings on it have changed from semi-cylinders to stone balls. Moreover, they are connected in series without any interval in between, just like a huge abacus that cannot be fiddled with. Although there are enough gaps between each of the 4 balls, there are sharp stone nails in the gaps. If anyone really steps through the gaps, they will definitely be pierced through the soles of their feet. Seeing this newly released trap, the players once again had countless resentments in their hearts. Another moth, this boss will never end, right? Nima, I just want to open a secret realm, why do you give me so many problems? What should I do? How will I pass this level? More and more players gathered in front of the stone ball trap, and everyone was frowning. This is the first time this stone ball trap has been encountered, and the players present couldn't think of a way to pass it for a while. The stone ball is worn on the shaft. No matter which part of the stone ball the foot falls on, it is easy to cause the stone ball to rotate, thus losing balance, slipping and falling. People with a discerning eye can understand it at a glance, so no one wants to go up and try it. The best way to face such a trap is to find a wooden plank and use a long pole to prop it up and move forward. It's a pity that there are many players present, but no one carries the plank with them. Or use all kinds of garbage to fill the gaps between the stone balls, so that you can easily pass through this area. It's a pity that when the players passed through the mirror passage, they had already stuck a lot of garbage to the glue wall. Now there is not enough garbage to fill the gaps between the stone balls. There are many hidden professions in this world, including mechanics, puppet masters and other professions that need to carry materials with them. But hidden occupations are very rare. The level in the imperial capital may not be suitable, the occupation with appropriate level may not be suitable, and those with appropriate occupation and level may not necessarily focus on the dark cave. Due to these reasons, there is no hidden occupation present who carries a large amount of materials with him. Everyone, how do you get through this trap? Whoever has a way can take it out, don't hide it. A player said loudly. The other players shook their heads, apparently unable to think of any good solution. After a long while, someone suddenly said, "How about we lie on the stone ball and roll the stone ball like we did when we crossed the water channel before?" Everyone nodded, thinking that this method can be tried. The diameter of the stone ball is about 30 centimeters. When a person lies on it, his torso can cover 2 to 3 stone balls, and his hands can hold the stone ball in front of him and push back. In this way, with the rolling of the stone ball under the body can move forward. The 2 legs can be placed on the stone balls on both sides to maintain balance, and it will not fall if it is operated properly. However, it is easier said than done. Whether this method can be used depends on whether it is feasible in actual operation. Then, someone lay down on the stone ball and tried to move forward. Not to mention, this method is indeed useful. Although the speed is a little slower and it looks a little funny, it can really move forward. It's just that the movement speed is very slow, and sometimes it will slip off the stone ball accidentally. And the consequence of sliding down was that the stone thorns in the gap pierced a few holes in his body. Fortunately, the players are experienced in many battles, and injuries are commonplace. Such minor injuries do not lose much blood, and it can be repaired by drinking some red medicine. As a result, all the players climbed onto the stone ball one after another and began to wriggle forward like maggots. It may not be appropriate to say that it is like a maggot, but I can't find a more suitable adjective now. All in all, it's pretty funny from the looks of it. That is to say, they have already climbed over the waterway once before, and they can save face, otherwise, I am afraid that some people will go back home now. As time went by, most of the stone ball traps had passed. But the players suddenly discovered that the stone ball in front of them became bigger and fluctuated up and down. One row is high and the other is low, and the high and low are very irregular. A player crawling at the front encountered 3 groups of stone balls that kept going down. Before he had time to use his hands, he slid forward and hit the higher stone ball at the front. My brain is buzzing, and I can't slow down for a long time. Then, he fell into the gap between the stone balls so dizzy, and there were a few more blood holes on his body. With all his strength, he finally climbed onto the higher group of stone balls in front of him, and couldn't help yelling, "I'm a dog when I come to this secret realm again. I haven't suffered like this since I was a child." Behind, the nearest player persuaded, "Brother, hold on, think about strengthening stones, think about fashion, think about the drop of the dark sword master, don't you want those?" The player was silent when he heard the words. He held back for a moment before angrily said, "Then I will bear it." The other players couldn't help laughing secretly when they heard the words, but after laughing, they felt sad for a while. I don't know what tribulations are waiting ahead. I and the others know that there is a tribulation ahead, but they still have to rush forward. This kind of feeling is really indescribable. As the size of the stone ball becomes larger, it becomes more and more difficult for players to climb, because for every stone ball missing under the body, there is one less support point, which makes it more difficult to maintain balance. At the same time, it is more difficult to hold the stone ball in front with both hands, and it will be more difficult to exert force. If it goes down continuously, there is another huge stone ball in front of it. Once the player falls on it, it will be like a mouse trapped in the roller, unable to move forward or backward. The only difference is that the player here is outside the circle, while the mouse is inside the circle. Rushing here, the players seem to have no other choice but to rush forward with pain while stepping on the stone thorns. Some players saw this clearly, gritted their teeth and shouted, "What the hell, I'm working hard. As long as I can make a fashion, I'll make money." He turned over and stood up, stepped on the gap between the stone balls, let the stone thorns penetrate the blood on his feet, and rushed forward while taking red medicine, ignoring the interference of pain. Some players seemed to be aroused bloody, and they also rushed together. And more people stared at their backs in stunned hesitation, unable to make up their minds to fight the pain at all. Zhang Qian was also a little surprised. He thought that these players would try to break through the stone ball trap after preparing the tools tomorrow. I didn't expect that some players would be so irritable, and came over directly stepping on the stone nails. To be honest, Zhang Qian wasn't sure if he would make such a decision if he changed places. It's really a group of hot-blooded young people. Since you are going to die, then you will be fulfilled. Zhang Qian sat on the stone throne, quietly watching the deep passage ahead. The Dark Cave Secret Realm is a low-level secret realm, and the internal space is not large. If it was the original Dark Cave Secret Realm, players only need to follow a winding cave, kill all the skeleton monsters along the way, and break into this hall to see the fallen Dark Sword Master. Although Zhang Qian has repeatedly modified the Secret Realm, but limited by his power, no matter how he changes the Secret Realm, the size of the space will not change. However, limited by the space of the Secret Realm, he could only arrange 3 large traps. So the stone ball trap is already the last large trap. Players only need to pass through the stone ball trap and kill all the skeleton monsters on the way to reach the hall where Zhang Qian is. But it is not easy to kill all the skeleton monsters on the road, at least the players who rushed through the stone ball trap at this moment will definitely not be able to do it. Zhang Qian calculated carefully, there were probably nearly 2,000 players who came today, but only more than 200 players broke through the stone ball trap. It was really the time when fashion exploded earlier, too many players died from cannibalism. And these 200 people will face nearly 500 skeleton monsters. And these more than 500 skeleton monsters are organized, disciplined, and fearless elites. Among the more than 500 skeletons, only half belong to Zhang Qian, and the remaining half belong to the Pale Skeleton Sword Master. As Zhang Qian subdued the Pale Skeleton Sword Master, the skeleton monsters that originally belonged to the Pale Skeleton Sword Master also had to obey Zhang Qian. In order to ensure his own safety, after subduing the Pale Skeleton Sword Master, Zhang Qian brought him back to the dark cave of the underworld along with his skeleton army. After night fell, the Pale Skeleton Sword Master and his skeleton army came to the world together with the dark cave. Therefore, the dark cave at this moment is unprecedentedly powerful, and it is naturally impossible for these players to know. Brothers, we made it. Haha, this rubbish trap won't trouble us. Go. Kill the Sword Master and grab the treasure. There is still plenty of time. As long as we get rid of the skeleton monsters ahead, we may not have a chance to kill the fallen Dark Sword Master. Don't waste your time, everyone, keep going. The players who passed through the stone ball trap had high morale and continued to move toward the depths of the dark cave. However, they didn't go far before they saw a group of black figures standing in front of them. One of them was extraordinarily tall, a head taller than ordinary skeleton warriors. It's a group of skeleton monsters. The melee ones go up, the nanny is ready to add blood at any time, and the long-range ones focus on firing. Go! Someone in the mob shouted loudly. Seeing the large number of skeletons ahead, the other players also knew that it was time to work together to deal with the monsters, so they all cooperated to exert their collective combat power as much as possible. In an instant, the light effects of various skills illuminated the dim corridor as if it were daytime. On the surface, it appears that everyone is contributing. As for how many of them really did their best and how many of them were fishing in troubled waters, it's hard to say. But not long after the war started, the faces of the players changed drastically. What's the situation? Why are there so many skeleton monsters? The big one in the middle, why does it look like the Pale Skeleton Sword Master? Shouldn't he be in the Bone Cave? It's not like, then it's the Pale Skeleton Sword Master. The Pale Skeleton Sword Master wandered into the dark cave. What's going on here? Who knows? I feel like we guys are a little bit hung up. Don't worry so much, we have no way out, we can only kill. Go. There is a stone ball trap in the back. If you want to retreat now, you will only fall into a passive and beaten situation. This group of players was able to pass through the stone ball trap by stepping on stone nails. Naturally, they were not bad in terms of courage and bloodiness. With no way to retreat, they simply screamed and rushed towards the group of skeleton monsters. Their idea is also very simple. Now that the explosion rate of the dark cave has been greatly increased, mobs can explode power-up stones and fashion, even if killing a few mobs to explode a few power-up stones is worth the trip. The worst result is just a waste of resurrection coins. What is there to be afraid of? The two sides quickly fought together. The front row encountered a long-range attack from the rear, and several units on both sides instantly emptied their health. Among the player units, even if it is a fighter with high health and strong defense, it can only be killed in seconds if it is concentrated by dozens of long-range skeletons. In contrast, although the player has fewer long-range attacks, the defense and blood volume of the skeleton warrior cannot be compared with that of the tank warrior of the same level, so it is not surprising that they are instantly killed. In general, the player side is at a disadvantage. And when the pale skeleton sword master joined the battle, the players couldn't hold on anymore. Minus 1722. Minus 1428. Minus 1422. The pale skeleton sword master raised his hand to slash 3 times in a row, and a warrior with thick blood and high defense was instantly killed. Many players have never brushed the secret realm of the Bone Cave, nor have they seen the pale skeleton sword lord fight. They couldn't help but turn pale when they saw this scene. Obviously, they didn't expect the Bronze Lord to be so cruel. As the Bronze Lord boss, the pale skeleton sword master's attack is not much weaker than that of Zhang Qian, who has not advanced. Against players of level 10 or 20, he can cut off more than half of the blood with one sword. Against players with poor equipment or low blood volume, it is not surprising that one sword kills them instantly. Usually, when elite players around level 20 kill the pale skeleton sword master, they first clean up the surrounding mobs, and then use several well-equipped meat shields to take turns to resist the damage, and it takes a long time to kill them. Obviously there is no condition to do so now, so at this moment, the pale skeleton sword master with the support of a large number of mobs is an invincible existence for the players. A big battle lasted for nearly an hour, and finally ended with the annihilation of all the players who rushed through the stone ball trap. Under the slaughter of the pale skeleton sword master, it is difficult for melee players to pose a threat to the long-range skeleton monsters behind. The long-range skeleton monsters can focus on any target at will. In this case, it is normal for the player to wipe out the entire army. However, the players didn't get nothing. In the process of their desperate attack, many melee skeletons were killed. Under Zhang Qian's deliberate control, the drops of these skeletons were very good, not only exploded a few power-up stones, but also exploded a costume again. Zhang Qian didn't care which player took the fashion. But he knew very well in his heart that no matter who took the fashion, after this wave of players went out, they would push the popularity of the new dark cave to the highest. The next night, there will be countless times more players flocking to the dark cave than the previous day. What Zhang Qian has to do is to be ready to welcome this group of players and let them honestly contribute their negative emotions. As the players expected, with the arrival of dawn, the entrance to the secret realm was closed, and the players' social platforms became more and more lively. Have you heard all about it? It seems that a huge change has taken place in the dark cave last night. Yes, the original dark cave was a cave with little soil, but I went in and took a look last night, good guy. It directly became a palace corridor. There are reliefs on the walls. It is more than 1 grade higher. I also heard that the dark cave exploded again last night, and fashions were revealed. Ha ha ha, you all know that Lao Su broke fashion. I sent you the properties, Starry Night Prince, Fashion Man, how about it? Are you handsome? How handsome. Awesome. This exploded in the dark cave last night. Upstairs, brother, do you sell this fashion? I'll buy it for 1,000 gold coins. Where did the poor and funny come from? Want to buy a fashion for 1,000 gold coins? Go home, wash and sleep. Brother, I will offer 1 million to buy the fashion in your hand, don't bind it. I offered 1.2 million, you must sell it to me. Yang Yefeng of the Yang family of the Young Emperor, I want this Starry Night Prince fashion, the price is 2 million, I hope my friends will save face. Yo yo yo. The imperial capital Yang family Yang Yefeng. Pay less. What a big face. You said sell it to you and sell it to you. Buy good things with money if you want them, don't frighten people with your background, as if others are afraid of you. Brother, don't be afraid, I'll offer 3 million, you sell it to me. Are you making trouble, aren't you? Isn't it just a fashion? You want to grab this from me too. Can you have a little something to do? I just can't understand your Yang family's invincible face, and I like to rob you, what's the matter? Would you like to have a touch? You wanna die? Yes, I am looking for death, you come and kill me. It's on fire, are the two big guys going to fight? A massacre caused by fashion has reappeared. As expected, the boss's world is incomprehensible. A piece of clothing that doesn't add any attributes can be sold for 3 million gold coins. It's incredible. 3 million gold coins. Too naive. Many people haven't seen the news yet, wait until more people see the news. I just want to buy a fashion for 3 million, but I can only say that I still want to miss it. When the real bosses come, I am afraid that tens of millions will not be able to stop them. Hiss. The value of fashion is so terrifying. It's so scary. Again the same sentence, being strong or weak is only temporary, but being handsome is a matter of a lifetime. Just when the players were shocked, someone suddenly showed off a costume. Bosses, I was lucky last night, and I also snatched a fashion, but it is a female model, can you help me estimate the price? Phoenix Dance 9 Heavens Fashion Girl. People are numb. Last night, 2 costumes appeared in the dark cave. Or a man and a woman. Awesome. Women's clothing is more expensive than men's clothing, and this fashion can at least sell for hundreds of millions of gold coins. Even those strong women who are hundreds of levels, it is hard not to be tempted. So beautiful. Hanfu fashion, the phoenix embroidered on it seems to be alive, and there are dots of feathers burning around it, and there are endless light shards on the body. If you wear this fashion, you will be the prettiest girl wherever you go. Compared to that, the Starry Night Prince is a bit worse, tisk. Seems like yes. Crazy. All crazy. The president and vice president of our guild are both beautiful and rich women, who were leading us to PK with others, but after getting the news, they left us and ran away. The same is true for our guild. The guild leader is leading us to develop a new map. After getting the news, he ran away, not even killing the last map boss, woman. I really have no resistance to beauty at all, I am convinced. The whole world seemed to be half boiling, and the news of fashions broke out in the dark cave, spreading in all directions together with the attribute maps of the 2 fashions. It took less than an hour for the secret realm to be closed, and the entire Junlong kingdom received the news. It is no exaggeration to say that at this moment the eyes of everyone in the country are focused on the secret realm of the dark cave. In addition to paying attention to the 2 costumes, players are also very concerned about the changes in the dark cave. But because the 2 costumes are too eye-catching, not many people discuss the changes in the dark cave. Probably the person who entered the dark cave last night did not want the information obtained through hard work to be grasped by others. After all, if only myself and a few others grasp the trap information behind, going tonight will definitely have a lot of advantages. Don't underestimate this advantage, maybe with this little advantage, you can get yourself a fashion. With this in mind, those who entered the dark cave yesterday and walked to the end all kept silent, just silently calling friends and preparing to enter the dark cave again tonight. For all these reasons, although the dark cave is very popular, the latest strategy has not been updated. However, the abnormality in the bone cave next door has attracted the attention of many people. Last night, the white bone cave was empty. Not only was there no skeleton monster, even the pale skeleton swordmaster was gone. Who knows what's going on? I don't know, who knows where the pale skeleton swordmaster went? Did you go out for a walk? What the hell is going out for a walk, but the boss of the secret realm can still go out for a walk? What a talent you are. Hey, first, the dark cave changed inexplicably, and then the bone cave was empty. This dead bone mountain is really getting more and more evil. The ice phantom sword master is also missing, right? It's really hard to say, let's see it tonight. The Magic Light Guild, the largest player organization in the imperial capital. At the moment, the guild channel is extremely noisy. Vice President Yenji, everyone is paying attention. Unknown changes have taken place in the secret realm of the dark cave near our imperial capital. The explosion rate has increased significantly, and 2 pieces of fashion were even exposed last night. Everyone must have heard about this matter. The guild decided to form a low-level elite group to attack the fallen Dark Sword Master. If you want to join the elite group, please sign up immediately with the head of the group you belong to. Rogue Rabbit, Vice President, did you overlook a question? How can there be low-level players in our guild? Wang Zhongliu, that's right, the minimum level in our guild is 60. How can there be low-level players? Vice President Ruenji, I ignored this question. Yin Yen Xiaoyao, then what shall we do? The dark cave is fat now, we can't just watch others swallow it. Vice President Meteor, there is no other way, we can only lower the income requirements. From now on, our guild will start recruiting players around level 20, only elites. The speed of recruiting must be fast, and you must not be preempted by other guilds. Cold River Guying, new players don't have any loyalty at all, and now they are in a hurry to recruit, and they are very likely to recruit moles from other organizations. Vice President Yenji, now I can't take care of so much. The explosion rate of the dark cave has been greatly increased. Mobs can explode fashion, who knows what the fallen Dark Sword Master exploded. We must share this cake, and we can only talk about other issues later. Imperial Capital ranked 2nd player organization Excalibur Guild. At the moment, the guild channel is no less lively than the Magic Light Guild. Great Elder Panda Brothers, the time has come for us to overtake the Magic Light Guild. As we all know, the Magic Light Guild has always only accepted advanced players. This is not the case with our Excalibur Guild. We pay great attention to the cultivation of talents, so our guild has many newcomers joining every year. Everyone should have heard of the dark cave that has been buzzing these past 2 days, right? Little transparent blue dye, of course I heard it. Fortress, is there any wood there? In a small low-level secret realm, there was such a big ups and downs in 2 days, and 2 fashions were exposed. Who can ignore this? Feeling like flying, that's right, Panda Head, just tell me, what are the higher-ups going to do? Great Elder Panda, alright, since everyone knows about dark caves, I won't talk nonsense. After some discussions, our management team unanimously decided to form a cutting-edge team to break through the dark cave. All players in the guild who are around level 20 can join the new group, and each member who joins the new group can receive a set of silver equipment from the logistics department, and the resurrection coins consumed in the next few days to storm the dark cave will be reimbursed by the guild. Mengxin Left Bank, is the guild so generous this time? Not to mention a set of silver equipment, but also the resurrection coins. Awesome. A Overlord Beast, wow. Long live the Excalibur Guild. The first brother in the forest, me. I want to join the Shinrui group. The Shinrui group, count me in. Pevs ni Zuokai, okay. I don't even look at how many levels I have, and I come here to meddle in it. The old clapper at level 97 has the nerve to pretend to be a newcomer. Can I show some face? Brother Lin Zhang, can't I just join in the fun? Really? A similar situation happened in the chat channels of various guilds. Some guilds that only recruited advanced players on weekdays were completely panicked this time. And those guilds that put a lot of emphasis on cultivating newcomers spent all their money to make a fortune in the dark cave. All player organizations in the entire imperial capital have suddenly fallen into some kind of strange competition. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.